What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast, number 390. Appreciate you all for always tuning in. And thank you for all of you giving me feedback on debating whether I'm going to do 2 episodes a week or keep it at 2 episodes a week or reduce it down to 1 a week. And today's episode is actually a good example as to why I should reduce it down to 1 a week, because I record an episode on Sunday and I record an episode on Wednesday. They come out Monday and Thursday, and there's not enough gap between the Sunday's episode that I record to Wednesday night's episode, unless there's just crazy news that happened. And this is an example where not a lot of news has happened. It's been pretty, these past 2 days, nothing really major in terms of news has happened. I can't cover every single hip hop related thing that happens every single day, but I cover mostly the major ones that I feel, are interesting enough to be put on the podcast. With that being said, I am gearing towards more of 1 episode a week, with it being a lot longer. Like I said, please, submit. Let me know what you like. Submit your vote. Basically, let me know what you guys think, whether it's 2 episodes, 1 episode. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to what I'm preferring, because I am preferring 1 episode a week to have it, about 2 hours long, where it's a bulk of episodes. And the reason why I just want to break it down, because I know I probably said this on other podcasts. So if you're listening to each podcast, you're probably like, why are you repeating this all the time? But if you don't know what I'm discussing, is the highlight clips, the social media posts, they do way better than the full episode of the podcast. So back when, I was doing the podcast with other people, I, had it twice a week just to be more current on the news. But now that it's only me, I can kind of record these little highlight clips immediately as news happens, and then just stitch together those clips for a full episode. So it makes more sense that way. And then if the full episodes end up getting a lot more views as time goes on, and those full episodes start growing a lot, then yeah, I could see me going back to 2 episodes a week. But right now, they're just not like at the level of like the highlights. The highlights that happen, they're not really at that level in terms of views. And there's a lot of factors for that. I mean, it's easier to discover content when you're scrolling through social media versus going through YouTube, So it's not like the full episodes are on, X, for example, or TikTok or, Facebook. The full episodes are only on audio versions, and then they're obviously YouTube. So there's less reach on that end. Yeah, so I'm gearing towards 1 episode a week. I don't know when I'm going to start doing that. I was thinking the beginning of April, but I might start sooner. If it just makes more sense. But let's get into the news, and we're going to get into a lot of the BS that's been going on. And Ja Rule finally breaks his silence on video of the Tony Yayo and Uncle Murda airplane incident. And first, I'm going to play one clip, and I'm going to try to play the next one, because I think the next one's going to be copyrighted. So if it is copyrighted, usually audio and video gets blocked, and the whole episode gets blocked, and it's a whole hassle and problem. So I probably won't play the second one, but I'll explain what the second one is. And the reason why I'm playing these two is you'll see the difference in Ja Rule. It's a huge difference of what platform he's on and how he talks. So first, the Today clip. And I'm the one that actually posted this on social media first. And then I saw a bunch of people just copying and pasting, because that's usually what happens on social media. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't ever copy and paste, but there was a guy that I posted that Ja Rule getting his eye blacked. I posted that clip and whatever on social media on X, and there was somebody that literally copy and pasted everything that I wrote and just posted the same thing. I was like, damn, can you at least, if you're gonna take the video, at least like add your own text to it? But that's how lazy some people are, and that's how much they're willing to like steal, even writing. I know the content isn't mine because it's old video footage. That's not mine, but at least I put a lot of effort into the writing of it, which takes time. It's not something that just, you get done in like a minute. I legitimately write a paragraph of things and try to get it. But anyways, I'm going on a rant on that, but I hate when that happens. People just take content and run with it, and they just copy and paste without even adding their own text to it. That's why we add that diverse mentality tag on a lot of social media videos, because even though those, like that social media, or that clip isn't ours, it took time for us to censor it, for us to edit it, and for us to get the cameras right in the middle of the person when they're talking, if that makes sense. So with that time, obviously we're going to tag it, because we don't want somebody just ripping that, even though it's not our content officially. Let's just say I take content from Tony Yayo and Uncle Murda's Real Rap Real Report podcast. When I make it vertical, I have to keep the camera on, Yayo or Murda or whoever is talking. And that takes editing. You got to splice clips up, and then you got to censor it for certain social media platforms. So that takes, a bit of time, and then you're writing this, paragraph of things. But I say all that to say, I posted this on, social media first, and this is what Ja Rule had to say about the incident.
Before we let you get out of here, we got to ask you about this incident. It's picked up a lot of attention online. You know what I'm talking about. You got in a little, shall we say, altercation on a plane.
Yeah.
We don't have to get into all the specifics, but from your perspective, what happened, and what would you say to folks who just want like our hip hop legends to just get along?
Nothing really happened. But I just want to say this from my standpoint. I'm almost 50 years old. I'll be a grandfather.
Congratulations.
Proud grandfather coming in May. But I feel like, as a older statesman in the hip hop community, there's a responsibility that we have, to be gentlemen.
Yeah.
And I live by code. I call it the gentleman's code. But I'm also raising young men.
Yes.
And so you have to let them know that there's no room for disrespect.
Yep.
But also there's a way that you carry yourself. So two things can be true. But I just want them to understand that disrespect is not tolerated, but there is a way that you carry yourself in certain spaces.
Cheers to that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So as you can see on the Today Show, which is more mainstream, more people, watch it in terms of like people that are not really into hip hop, I guess you could say more, not urban, but white culture, and just people that barely know about certain artists and blah, blah, blah. And they see these incidents with, Ja Rule getting at it with somebody at the airplane. It's like, they judge Ja Rule based off that. They don't judge off the music, because there's some people that are totally disconnected from the hip hop world and might know an artist solely off of one song, or they saw him in a movie like Fast and Furious, or, so on and so forth, right? So Ja played this smart tactic in this interview where he was just like, basically with the apology that he did in social media. He was like, listen, I'm a grown man. I'm kind of ashamed of myself, but at the end of the day, I'm a man. I held my ground, but it's all childish, this and that. I'm about to be 50 years old, so on and so forth, right? He says that on this platform. But then TMZ goes and asks him about the incident. And on TMZ, he acts way different. He acts more aggressive, more disrespectful, not to like, insane, disrespect. So, if you're listening to the audio only, which if I could play the clip, I don't know if I can or not, but I'm just kind of explaining what he basically says, almost the same thing as on the Today Show. But then he's like, I don't fuck with them. They don't fuck with me. We can coexist. We don't have to. And then he's like swinging in the air like he's about to punch somebody. And then he throws a gun sign at the end. And he gets, his energy is a lot, higher and crazier in the TMZ interview. But the funny thing out of all this is that he'll go on social media and act totally different as well. Where like it doesn't align with the brand, if it is what I'm saying. Is like keep it consistent. On Today, just say, hey, those guys are clowns, and I feel like, hey, I apologize for the event that happened or the incident that happened, and they're clowns, and I don't respect them at all, and two of us can coexist, blah blah blah, and say that, make it a clearer indication of how you feel. In terms of Yayo, Murda, and 50, they always keep it real in the interviews. They keep it 100% of what it is, and that's it. So with Ja, it's kind of like he plays his media game of like, in the public, he'll be like, oh, and like public on big platforms like Today, he'll be like, oh, I'm a gentleman, this and that. And then behind the scenes, he'll be totally different. And that's the difference between some people is you don't know if you can trust what they're saying or how they are as a person because of that. He's acting totally different on each platform. On social media, all disrespect, all cussing, everything you can imagine. On Today Show, very, very clean cut. On TMZ, in between, where he's over here swinging in the air, he's throwing up a gun sign at the end, and he's cussing and so on and so forth. If he kept it consistent, and didn't address it on social media or just basically apologized, that's it. If there was only an apology that released after the incident, then I could be like, okay, he's keeping it consistent everywhere, and that's it. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because I was like, you act one way here, then act another way here. just keep it consistent across the board, because that's where the authenticity should, if you're an authentic person, that's how it should come off, instead of switching, to, and I get it, you're on Today's Show, you want to make it more clean cut for a wider audience. It's a smart move on your end to a certain extent, but still, it's like, keep it consistent, because I don't think if Yayo went on, I don't know, Today's Show, let's just say that, which Yayo couldn't. He's not that big of a star to be on Today's Show. Let's just say he goes on there. I think he would keep it a lot more authentic to him. He would say, you know what, that guy's a clown. Me and 50 had issues with him, blah, blah, blah. And kind of explain more, instead of just kind of whitewashing it and pretending like, it was nothing. It's not a big deal, this and that. There's more that happened. So that's my take on it. But other than that, interesting to get Ja Rule's perspective on video, at least, of the incident. Uncle Luke is looking to run for Congress. And I actually like this. I wanted to talk about it because he is a pillar in hip hop, and he did something that forever changed hip hop through the judicial system. So this is something that I just found very interesting, and I wanted to talk about. Let's go over it. According to Uncle Luke, he's demonstrated the ability to build, fight, and deliver for Florida's 20th congressional district. Uncle Luke may have found success in the world of music, but now he's looking to try something new. During a recent appearance on WPLG Channel 10's This Week in South Florida, he announced plans to run for Florida's 20th congressional district. After decades of fighting for my community, from the courtroom defending free speech all the way to the United States Supreme Court, to building businesses that created jobs across the South, to mentoring and coaching thousands of young people into college, I've officially decided to run for Congress in Florida's 20th district, he said in an official statement released today, February 16th. My first order of business is to qualify by petition and let the people speak. For more than 35 years, I have worked on the ground in Liberty City and throughout South Florida, co-founding Liberty City Optimist, partnering with city and county leaders, building relationships with corporate sponsors, and helping hundreds of thousands of young people across education and opportunity through sports and mentorship, he continued. I've done the work, I have the relationships, and I know how to get things done. There's no one else in this race who has demonstrated the ability to build, fight, and deliver for this community the way I love. Well, and I want to talk about what he said a little bit earlier. He said, after decades of fighting for my community, from the courtroom defending free speech. Yes. So Uncle Luke, if you don't know, and this is going to be, if you have no idea about your hip-hop history, you're going to see why hip-hop is probably one of the biggest factors for how music was released, and still is released to this day, but more so in the CD and tape era, is because of this one thing. So Uncle Luke, so at the time when hip-hop was coming out, and music in general, but mainly hip-hop, it was getting attacked for the cuss words, some of the violent stuff said, so on and so forth. There were protests to shut down this type of music. This music is, too violent, vulgar. Our kids shouldn't be listening to this, so on and so forth. It got so big to the point where every hip-hop CD was any CD that had like violent words in it, cuss words, or anything violent in it, wasn't getting sold in stores at all, from cassettes to CDs. And they forced every hip-hop CD to be clean, with no cuss words. And to a certain extent, they didn't even the clean ones they didn't put in stores. So it was getting bad to a point where Uncle Luke, who's a prominent hip-hop artist in the 1980s, was pushing for freedom of speech in music because it is entertainment. I mean, he pushed it so far to the point where he also invented the parental advisory sticker. Yes, you heard that right. That parental advisory explicit content that is on CDs was invented by him. Unfortunately, he never patented it, because if he did, he would have been super, super filthy rich. I'm talking like so rich, it would have been ridiculous, because they would have to pay him a royalty for using that on every single CD, whether it's a penny to 10 cents to whatever. Imagine how many CDs have sold with that sticker on there, just in hip hop alone. Then think about other genres where there's curse words and stuff. So he invented that sticker to basically create a platform where the customer can go in the store and clearly recognize what has, or even a parent, what has explicit content in it where a kid shouldn't be listening to it. And if it doesn't have that sticker, obviously it's clean content. So he advocated for that free speech. He went all the way to the Supreme Court, fought. And eventually the law passed where, hey, for content that's very explicit, that sticker needs to be on the CDs or that tag or whatever. It's not really a sticker because depending on what CD you buy, because some are actually on the image, some are actually on the CD case. With that being said, he should be running for Congress. He should be one of those people in hip hop that should be running for anything political because he was there. He was in the trenches dealing with it, and he was successful at it. So salute to him. He's a hip hop legend. He is somebody that, like I said, if it wasn't for him and various other people, but mainly him, for fighting for free speech in hip hop, who knows where music would have been today, especially hip hop as a genre. So yeah, if you didn't know that, tag Uncle Luke and say thank you, because he definitely deserves the flowers while he's still here. Give him praise. That parental advisory sticker, changed the game completely. So yeah, just wanted to talk about that. And if you're in Florida, I would definitely vote for him. I think he is a good candidate just based off that history alone, in my eyes. This was interesting. So Shyne appeared on The Breakfast Club, and unfortunately, Breakfast Club is on Netflix. I don't pay for Netflix unless like there's something crazy special like Dave Chappelle that comes out, or I don't know, something that I really want to see. But I don't pay for Netflix at all monthly because it's just too expensive, to be honest with you guys. I think it's like $17-18 for no ads. I can't stand ads, so I have to pay the no ads one. I can't pay the $8 one where there's ads playing. It's just a waste of time. And I tell you guys, if you got the $12, or I don't know how much the YouTube premium is, I think it's like $12, $11.99 or something like that. It is worth every penny, because if you are on YouTube, which like I'm on YouTube. I don't really go on these other streaming platforms that often. I'm mainly on YouTube 90% of the time. Paying for YouTube premium is like 100% worth it. I ain't got to deal with no ads. I know some people have ad blocker and stuff, but YouTube is tracking down on that, and eventually that's not going to work. I can see that being something where they've actually banned accounts for that. I just stopped using that. I was like, whatever, man, $11-12 a month. That's not a big deal. You get YouTube Music on top of that. You get all these other features and stuff. So, if you're, constantly on YouTube, it's worth putting $12 on YouTube because it has a huge array of content, way more than Netflix can ever dream of. But I say all that to say, Shyne, appeared on The Breakfast Club. I can't play the clip. I used to be able, actually, I wasn't used to be able either on Breakfast Club because iHeartRadio owned it. But now that Netflix owns it, I really can't play anything from it because it's like Netflix exclusive shit. So they take down anything. So it's unfortunate. It's really, and here's the thing. I don't mind playing these clips if they're just copyrighted, because if something's copyrighted on YouTube, you just don't get money from, the post. But these are copyrighted and they will block your whole video. So there's like, I can't even put this episode out if I play the clip because it'll get blocked. So there's a difference between copyrighted and blocked as well. Some stuff gets copyrighted. I'm willing to let it go and not make any money off it. I've done that quite a few times, a lot in my documentaries as well, my long, hard work where I only use 5 seconds of a fucking song. Like my 50 versus Ja Rule part 1, I've made never a dime off that, because I use this. It's the intro in the club. I think it's part 2. I actually used it in the club. Yeah, it's part 2. So that little clip where it's like fucking 4 or 5 seconds of In the Club, because that's copyrighted, I cannot make a single penny off that. It's unfortunate, but I just love that intro so much that I'm willing to take that hit and just say fuck it, So that's why I have Patreon. That's why now, back then I didn't have Patreon where I could put uncut videos because I should have done that. But who knows if it would have been as iconic putting it straight through Patreon, because I wouldn't have put it on YouTube, so people wouldn't have seen the iconic intro, without the YouTube. So anyways, I need to redo the 50 and Ja documentary. As time goes on, there's been a lot more stuff added to it. A lot more footage has come out as well. So that's a different thing. But Shyne gets asked about, the documentary, and he said, in all fairness, I see a lot of people attacking 50, trying to bastardize the legitimate pain and suffering of those victims. But without 50, Alex, the director, might have had a hard time with her project. I didn't want to tell the Diddy story. There's nothing I can gain from watching the documentary. Everything that anybody could say, I know to be a fact. I know the potential. I'm not going to be that person and disbelieve those victims. I pray that Diddy rehabilitates. Which is basically him saying, hey, I haven't seen the documentary. I've lived through it, but shout out to 50 for actually advocating to get this out there. 50 saw it and basically showed love to Shyne back, which is surprising on both ends because, 50 and Shyne had beef. Was it really that serious? No, but they did have issues with each other. So 50 posted that Breakfast Club clip and said, Shyne is all right, man. Old boy sent him to jail for 10 years. He then posted another clip from Shyne and said, the man took 10 years of Shyne life. With that being said, like I said, it's interesting because here's the funny part is when Shyne got released, I didn't really know about Shyne's history because I was a kid when that shooting happened. I think it was in 2000 or 2001, somewhere around there. I was like 6 years old at that time. So I didn't know shit about Shyne. I didn't even know about the shooting. I found out about it right when, and this is the funny part, I found out about it when 50 started beefing with Shyne. When Shyne got released and 50 did that funny video, you can find it on his YouTube channel, where he calls Def Jam and he trolls Shyne on the calls because he did like some type of like fan interview where you can call in and it's through Def Jam and you can ask questions. 50 called in and got through and, he pretended to like change his voice, but then he trolled him and it was just, so I remember Shyne from that. I didn't really, and then he came out with music and everybody hated it. It did not sound good at all. Yeah. So with that being said, that's when I found out about Shyne. So I just looked at it as another 50 person that, 50 has beef with. So after all these years in 2026, for them to, respect each other because they have a common enemy with Diddy, that is very, very cool to see. It's something that 50 squashed a lot of beefs, obviously, but throughout the years, it's like, oh, is he going to squash this? Like, I think the only beefs he's not ever going to squash and forever going to have an issue with these people is Ja Rule, Game, and Rick Ross. Those three, I wholeheartedly believe will never get squashed. The Ja Rule one is 100% out of the question. That's never, they're going to be forever. That's just, the Game one got close to being squashed. They ran into each other in that Los Angeles type of club vibe area. They talked to each other for a little bit. Whack 100 was pushing to get it, squashed, but that just never, happened. And then Game was just, would say random things and, say all kinds of crazy stuff. Right. And then, Rick Ross, it got personal because of the lawsuits. It got personal because of baby mamas being brought in, kids. So I just don't see the Rick Ross one ever being squashed as well. That one just still goes on. It's still, a beef. Everybody else, though, like any issue 50 had with French Montana, with Shyne, with Jadakiss, Fat Joe, he's basically squashed the beef and he's cool with them. Nas, whoever you can think of. I just think those three, it's up forever. Like that's not, ever going to be squashed. And rightfully so. Those three have elements. Well, obviously the Ja Rule one, people died, people got shot, which we know of. The Game one, somebody died, people got shot as well. And the Rick Ross one, there were moments, which I still haven't done a 50 versus Rick Ross, who really won, or actually I did I forgot. That was the second video I've ever done with the Who Really Won. I need to remaster that, redo that, and I will. In due time, I will. I know I've been saying that for a while, but just give me this time to figure this shit out, and then once I get things stacked up properly, I will revisit that, redo that as well. That'll be really exciting because the format changed after the 50 versus Ross documentary. That's the documentary I made where I made it really long. I made it like 48 minutes. At that time on YouTube, a 48-minute video was insanely long. Like I wasn't seeing that shit nowhere. This is why I say I'm the person who pushed hip hop to do long format content. Nobody was doing it. You can go check from 2017. That video came out April 2017. Check around that time. Nobody. There was the longest videos that I ever saw was maybe 15, 20 minutes from Complex or, nothing, nowhere near almost an hour long. So when I made that, I skipped through a lot of stuff because I was like, I don't know if people are interested in, something being this long. That's why when you look at the 50 versus Game one, I dropped part one with only 20 minutes and then part two an hour, which doesn't make any sense, right? You just might as well put it into one. But because of, people just not really fucking with long format content at that time, at least me thinking that, I split things up. I made things shorter. But the 50 versus Ross one was a blessing because when I made it, people were like, damn, this is like a movie. Damn, this is dope. Make more of these. And then that's where I got the idea. I was like, all right, let me put more of these out. And then the Gucci versus Jeezy one, it wasn't longer than 50 versus Ross, but it was about 30 to 40 minutes. Or T.I. versus Lil Flip. I did something after that. I think it was Gucci versus Jeezy, then T.I. versus Lil Flip. But the 50 versus Game was the longest one. It was like an hour and 20 minutes. And then 50 versus Ja Rule was 2 hours. And then, I've done 2-3 hour documentaries. Actually, 3 hours I've never done before. That's been released on YouTube at least. I have the Give It or Die Trying documentary where I had a cut of it that's over 3 hours long, which is featuring footage that, hopefully I get to release in the future. That 50, if he gets involved with the documentary, we'll be able to release it, but that's something totally different. But in terms of like public documentaries that I released, 2 hours long has been my longest. I think it only makes sense to go really, really long if it makes sense. It can't just be just to fill in content, is what I'm saying. And I've seen a lot of documentaries go 6, 7, 8 hours, and I'm like, bro, there's no way that this is an 8-hour long documentary. You're basically going over every little comment, every little tweet, every little, like everything. The only way I can see a super long documentary like that is Tupac versus Biggie, because my approach with it would be something that nobody's ever done, and it would take an insane amount of time. So that's why whenever I do that Tupac versus Biggie one, I really, really am going to be so zoned in, and I'm going to be doing so much in that I just like, that's it. It's going to be the definitive Tupac versus Biggie documentary that's available. Like, because I'm going to go into so much detail, it'll be insane. It's going to be like probably 4, 5, 6 hours long. I don't know. But there are a lot of documentaries like that where I know I could go 6, 7, 8 hours. There's some Michael Jackson ones that I've been really wanting to do in the future where I could go really long on them. But I say all that to say, there's actually an interesting topic I want to touch on when it comes to hip hop and music for a documentary down the line. But yeah, I have like, see, I get excited talking about this. I just ran on, but I have like at least 70 to 90 ideas. So sometimes it can get hard to kind of be like, okay, let's go with this one and let me focus on this one. Sometimes I just like certain ones at the time more than the others. So I just put the others on the side. So like in terms of ideas, I never run out. I can have, and that's the thing. That's what separates the really good content creators versus the copy and pasters. There are a lot of copy and pasters who've copied my content, who've copied other people's content, and they don't have ideas. They just copy and paste and see what other people are doing, and that's it. And they eventually, burn out. With me, I got ideas that nobody right now, there are documentary ideas that I have that nobody has ever touched on in terms of stories at all. For example, when I did the G-Unit chain getting robbed in Chicago, nobody prior to me covered that in a full detail with everyone's point of view. Nobody. That's why I got insane views on it. It's on pace to be my most watched documentary ever at 4.5 million views. The Nipsey Hussle's at 4.5 million too. So they're really racing each other. They're basically battling each other for to be the top one, which I think is going to be the chain one. It's starting to pace up and catch up because that was dropped in 2023. The Nipsey one was dropped in 2021. So, with 2023, it's got a 2-year late start. But I say all that to say, that's a story that like nobody was covering. I was like, dude, this is an insane story. How is nobody? So that's what I mean. I have ideas where there are stories that nobody's even like touched because a lot of these, like I'll notice a lot of hip hop content creators, like I said, it's rare you'll find ones that actually come up with like their own ideas. A lot of them just copy and paste, man. The content is very bland. The thumbnails all look the same. And I didn't want to fall down that rabbit hole of like, just doing the same shit everybody else is doing. The editing style is the same. Like, I want my editing style to be like unique to what we do. I don't want to just like, oh, this person's doing this, so let me just copy and paste the way they're doing their editing style. Like, no, my shit's going to be, this is that diverse mentality production. This is, Quake's type of shit that he does. But yeah, I say all that to say, stay tuned. I got some documentaries coming very soon. I am, by the way, I'm actually just going to say this right now because it makes sense for me to say it. The DMX documentary is coming. I had talked about this years ago, but My plan is to release it on the anniversary of his death, which I believe is April 9th, because I'm a huge DMX fan. And yeah, April 9th. Just wanted to make sure, because I don't know why I have the 6 and 9. Sometimes I might be dyslexic, but I sometimes flip to 6 and 9, and I'm like, is it 6? Is it 9? Blah, blah, blah. But April 9th, that's going to be my timed target to release the DMX documentary. And speaking of 2-hour-long documentaries, this might actually be 3 hours long, because I do have it into 3 sections. And from the way it's looking like, I haven't really started 100%. I've kind of gathered ideas of what I want to do. From what it's looking like, each part will probably be an hour long. So it's going to be a 3-hour-long documentary going over his whole life. I've been wanting to do that. I'm a huge DMX fan, like I said. So that's in the works. And I got some mini documentaries in the works. And then I got some Who Really Wons that I'll do, and what really happened and what happened to, and these other series type of ones. Because I haven't done a What Happened To in a long time. I haven't done a Who Really Won. It's about to be a year since I did a Who Really Won. I haven't done a What Really Happened in a long time as well. So I will be back on that this year. I just been focusing, like I said, on social media and building that around. But enough of me talking. But yeah, I just wanted to cover that Shyne thing and see it was just cool and interesting to see. Eminem's ex-wife is facing DUI charges, and this is crazy. So let's go over this article. Eminem and Kim Scott were famously married from 1999 to 2001, from 2006 to 2007, and share a daughter named Haley Jade. Eminem's ex-wife, Kim Scott, is facing 2 charges for allegedly crashing a car carrying her son and his friends in Michigan. According to court records obtained by TMZ, the charges include operating a vehicle while intoxicated and failure to stop or identify after causing property damage. Both are misdemeanor offenses. Sources tell the outlet that the incident occurred around 8 p.m. on Monday after Scott left her home with her son, Parker, and 3 of his friends. Shortly into the drive, she allegedly hit a parked car before returning to her driveway and smacking into the garage door. Neighbors phoned the police, and when officers arrived, Scott was transported to a nearby hospital for minor injuries. Her attorney, Michael Smith, told TMZ that she is a good person, a beautiful human being. I wanted to talk about this because there's going to be body cam police footage that probably comes out of this. And on top of that, she was pictured like fairly recently out and about, and she doesn't look too healthy. I say all that, with all due respect. But she, I think she's gone through a lot in life, and she's kind of battled with the relationship with Eminem, and it just hasn't really, treated her well. I think she's the same age or like close to Eminem or maybe older. Let me see. Kim Scott. So 51. She actually just turned 51 on January 9th. So she is roughly like 7-8 months older than Eminem, because Eminem is already 50 right now, right? Oh shit, I'm tripping. Eminem's 53. I thought he was 50 years old. So yeah, Eminem is like 4 years older than her. 3 and like 8 months older, right? But yeah, it's sad, man. And driving around DUI with your kids, that's something that's always frowned upon, man. Too many people get into accidents with DUIs. If you're intoxicated, man, just get an Uber. It saves a lot of people's lives, saves a lot of time, energy. I understand if you have a drink or two and you feel all right, but some people, man, and I know some people, I've actually seen some people want to drive. Thankfully for me, I barely ever drink, and I barely ever do drink. If I do drink, it's like once a year, and now I've completely like just stopped. I don't even care to. I don't even know why it started in the first place, because I didn't drink until when I became 23, 24 is when I started drinking. I'm 30, so I started like 6-7 years. 2019 is like when I started a little bit, just to taste it, blah, blah, blah. Then 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, around that time, I was drinking like, I want to say every 2 to 3 months, I would have something. Like, it was a lot more frequent than I ever did in my whole entire life. So I would have it every now and then. I still wasn't never a person that would drink like every time on weekends or every 2 weeks, or, I would drink once, maybe every 2 to 3 months. And now I'm just kind of, last time I drank was for New Year's because my brother-in-law wanted me to badly. And I was like, all right, man, this is it. I don't want to be drinking anymore. I'm not even interested in it. I don't even know why it started. Like I said, it's nothing really. And I'm glad that the newer generation is drinking a lot less, and they don't really care. They know alcohol is bad for you. So all of it's just terrible for you, If you do it, just do it in moderation, barely, like how I was doing it once every 2 to 3 months. That's probably the best route to go. or just do it on special occasions. You know, if you feel like for New Year's, or you feel like, you know, you accomplished something big at your job, or, you know, get a champagne bottle and celebrate. But other than that, you know, it's just everything negative comes out of it. There's nothing positive that comes out of drinking. Legitimately, like nothing positive that I can think about. Your body gets damaged in all kinds of ways. You're not properly functioning in all kinds of ways. It's just, yeah. But that's my take on it. Much prayers out to Kim for what she's going through. I hope she, you know, sobers up and gets more focused on in life, especially with having kids. Big Sean appeared on ABC with Usher, which I have no idea why they appeared together. But I'm going to go over the article and find out, because I don't think the article even explained it, because I still don't know why. And I read the article. But let's go over this. Nipsey Hussle was shot and killed outside his Marathon clothing store in Los Angeles in 2019 at just 33 years old. Big Sean says he fell into a very deep depression after the death of Nipsey Hussle in 2019. He reflected on the Los Angeles rapper's passing during a recent interview with Lindsay Davis for ABC News alongside Usher. The topic began with Sean discussing willingness to open up about struggles with mental health in the wake of Hussle's death. So let's play this clip.
You've talked about how when Nipsey passed away in 2019, that really put you in a dark space. You've been really open about talking about going to therapy, dealing with depression, anxiety. What made you decide? Because that often is very taboo in the Black community in particular for a man. What made you decide you were going to come forward and share that?
I was just sharing what was going on in my life. I didn't realize that I was being so vulnerable. I wasn't trying to be a spokesperson for mental health per se, you know. I was just expressing how I was, and was going into therapy and experienced a time of heavy ups and downs, a time of depression. I felt like I hit a wall in my life, and I either had to climb over it or it was gonna fall on me and crush me. I had to rediscover myself. I didn't even know what I liked anymore. I didn't even know what I was into anymore. I had been so about my work that I lost touch with the person that I was. So I think that led to a very deep battle of depression, deeper than I have experienced when I was like a teenager, and you know, mad things aren't going my way, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So I had to reaffirm my faith. I had to take time away from the music industry being my first obligation, and I had to put myself first. And and it also taught me how important the mind, body, and spirit are, how interconnected they are. You know, really taking care of myself, my diet, being in the gym, taking time to meditate, taking time to have fun. You got to be serious about having fun. I'm telling you, for real. You got to be serious about having fun, because as fast as time goes, we're here for a limited amount of time. You know, we got all these goals, all these dreams, but what if this is our only time to actually experience this friction and experience these feelings while we're in our bodies? You know, when we leave our bodies, we won't have the pleasure of being hungry, of enjoying our favorite food, of hugging our loved ones, of experiencing depression, actually, experiencing loss, experiencing the you know, hurt of being disappointed, but then realizing that that's the same thing that's gonna fulfill you and take you to the win that you've been looking for. You know, there's so many lessons in that time that I learned in my life. So I'm just happy to be here, enjoying myself. And I know that's a kind of a long answer, but yeah, I didn't realize when I was opening up about that and talking about going to therapy and the things that I'd done, I thought I was just, you know, being honest. Being honest, yeah.
Wow. So I hope I can play the full clip, but he basically, you know, talks about going to therapy after the Nipsey Hussle thing, and basically appreciating life for what it is, even the downs and ups, and even talks about just enjoying life. Sometimes being serious about having fun as well, because time flies, and just working and stuff and trying to go after goals sometimes is not always the thing that you should be doing. And I need to actually start taking that a lot more serious as well, because, you know, I haven't gone on vacation a long ass time, and you know, I think the last time I went on vacation was 2022 to solely just like enjoy my time somewhere. So yeah, you know, if you're going through any type of problems in life, just know it's brief for that moment. Ups and downs in life, that's what happens. You know, there's gonna be high highs and there's gonna be low lows, but what you should do is just stay in the middle. Don't get too high when things are great, and don't get too low when things are bad. That's the way I kind of maneuver. If something amazing happens in my life, I I celebrate it for that moment, but I don't go too crazy and, oh my God, I'm on top of the world and everything's amazing, because literally in a blink, something could change, you know? So just appreciate every moment from the lows to the highs. I agree with not Nipsey, but Big Sean. And yeah, Nipsey Hussle's death was a huge, I actually found myself I think I cried during the funeral, which I've never done for a celebrity, which is weird. It's like I never met this guy. Crying over this guy dying is like, it's just the visual of it is what got me really emotional, and where he got killed. Like, this is a spot where this guy sacrificed so much of his life, so much was put into that area for him to get gunned down in that same area was just like so sad, man. One of the saddest things that I've seen. And there's a lot of sad things in life, obviously, but it's just, yeah, that hit me different. And I'm sure that hit Big Sean. You actually knew him. So it's different when you actually meet somebody, you know them, you work with them musically. I'm just a person that knew him musically. That's it. I don't know this guy personally. I never met this guy, but yeah, man. Yeah, I can understand why he went through that, because that is a serious, serious thing. But shout out to Big Sean for being vulnerable about it and talking about it. Let's get into what the IFPI has finally reported. The IFPI is like an international platform. They're International Federation of Phonographic Industry. And they released their list of the best-selling global artists of 2025. And the list goes like this. So let me actually get to this, because we posted about it and we actually listed out numbers of everybody. So the list goes like this. It starts with Taylor Swift being a number 1. No surprise there. She dropped her album, did crazy numbers, makes sense. Number 2 is Stray Kids. Number 3 is Drake. So that makes Drake the highest selling hip hop artist that year. And Drake has been the highest selling hip hop artist for 11 consecutive years, which is crazy. Insane. And then it goes The Weeknd, then Bad Bunny, then Kendrick Lamar, number 6. So it's crazy. It's 2025. Drake only released the Party Next Door collab album. He didn't release a solo album. But here's the crazier part. So you're going down the list. You get to number 12. Tyler, the Creator's on there. Salute to him. He dropped his album, did his thing. But then this is the craziest. And this, I think, out of these guys, is probably the oldest one on this list. Eminem is at number 15, which is insane. Because if you go over this list, another old artist / group is Linkin Park, and they're right under Eminem. But that's it. Everybody on this list is from like the 2010s and up. So it's only Eminem and Linkin Park. Linkin Park is the early 2000s. Eminem is 1999, but early 2000s. You could say 90s technically, but it's like the last year of the 90s. But still, crazy feat. That's what surprised me more, is Eminem being there in Linkin Park. I was like, holy shit, like they're still in the top 20 competing with artists that are doing all kinds of streams and crazy shit. Let me actually go to like the Linkin Park's numbers on streams. I'm just curious. I don't think I've ever checked out their actual streaming numbers. I bet you it's fucking insane. Oh yeah, it's fucking insane, bro. You got Paper Cuts. They're I think this is this the greatest hits or no? Yeah, this is the greatest hits album. So Paper Cuts is the greatest hits. 18 billion streams with 10 million daily streams. Hybrid Theory, which is their I believe their second or third album. I could be wrong, or maybe even the first. That's at 8 billion streams. Insane. And they just passed 8 billion. Meteora, which is crazy. That's at 7 billion. About to be 8. Yeah, Minutes to Midnight. They're basically in the billions. Let's actually see the songs. I'm curious. So In the End, it doesn't even matter. That's at 3 billion streams. Numb is at 2.6 billion. And those songs get daily millions of streams. That's crazy, man. So yeah, Linkin Park, it's up there, man. Linkin Park is definitely up there in numbers. So they, I'm surprised like 50 probably would have been like maybe number 25 or something. Like he probably would have been on the list if the list was a little bit more extended, because 50 does great numbers still. But yeah, round of applause to everybody. Obviously Drake, 11th consecutive year being the top selling hip hop worldwide artist. He's had a hell of a run and still having a great run. Nothing out of that Kendrick and Drake beef, nothing has affected Drake. He's still doing numbers. His music's still getting streamed. I think a lot of people expected his career to get killed, but in today's time, I don't think any artist can kill anybody's career. It's just there's too much that goes on social media now. Back then, like when 50 and Ja were beefing, the industry could legitimately like just blackball you, so you don't appear on 106 and Park, you don't appear on TRL, you don't appear on any of these platforms to do interviews anymore because they just kind of blackball you and have no interest in. Now you got social media, you got your own platform that you can post on. You can, it's just a lot more in your face where it's harder to kill somebody's career like that. But yeah, man, round of applause to Drake. Just wanted to talk about that. That is crazy. Speaking of charts, let's get into the Billboard Hot 100, and DTMF Bad Bunny is at number 1. So that Super Bowl thing has helped. Another Bad Bunny records at number 2. Olivia Dean, Man I Need at number 3. Choosing Texas, Ella Langley number 4. Another Bad Bunny record, number 5. I can't pronounce these Bad Bunny records, so I'm just saying Bad Bunny songs. 6 is Alex Warren, Ordinary. Another Bad Bunny song at number 7. Opia Light, Taylor Swift, number 8. Golden Hunter, number 9. And then I Just Might, Bruno Mars, number 10. Going down the list, J. Cole, 2-6, debuted at number 16. Damn, let's see how many J. Cole records actually debuted on here. Lil Uzi Vert, What You Saying, number 26. J. Cole, Safety, number 29 debut. J. Cole, Poor Thing, number 30 debut. Who the Fuck Is You, J. Cole, number 32 debut. Run a Train, J. Cole and Future, number 33 debut. Number 34, Bunts Road, Texas Blues, J. Cole, Thames and Future. Going down the list, Legacy, J. Cole and RJ, number 36 debut. The Let Out, J. Cole, 43 debut. Chris Brown and Depends, number 44. Drum and Bass, number 46 debut, J. Cole. T.I. Let 'Em Know, number 50. So it hasn't moved, I guess. That's pretty cool. Thought it was going to move. Bombs in the Ville, Hit the Gas, number 52 debut for J. Cole. 29 Intro, number 20. I was about to say number 29. 29 Intro, J. Cole, number 53 debut. BX The Plug, Hell at Night, number 56. 39 Intro, 59 debut with J. Cole. Let's go down the list. Old Dog, this is a song that's my favorite off the album. Surprised it's so low. Number 64 debut on that J. Cole record. The Fall Off is Inevitable, number 68 debut for J. Cole. The Villas, number 72 debut for J. Cole. Life Sentence, number 73 debut for J. Cole. Lonely at the Top, number 75 debut for J. Cole. Only You, number 78 debut for J. Cole. I Love Her Again, number 83 J. Cole debut. ESD Kid, 4 Raws, number 89. Pooh Shiesty, FDO, number 93. Why doesn't Pooh Shiesty drop more music? Like, he just let that momentum off that record just completely die out. That's crazy. Airtime, Cardi B, number 95. Man Up Above, J. Cole, number 99 debut. And Quick Stop, J. Cole, number 100 debut. Damn, that sucks. J. Cole didn't get like a top 10. He only got the highest he got was 16. That's unfortunate because I think he deserves a number 1 hit record as a lead artist. But yeah, that's it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. As always, appreciate you guys. Stream us, Spotify, Deezer, Pocket Cast. I think Apple Podcast is now having video versions, so I'm going to look into that and get the video versions up on there as well. So that's going to be interesting and something new if you are on Apple Podcasts. But yeah, stream us on all those platforms. Have an amazing night, day, whenever you listen to this, and peace.